Hi guys, it's Debbie and today I'm back with a review of a new Indian movie. Actually, to describe it like that would be an understatement, as this is basically the Indian movie of the year. An epic action drama which is currently the second highest grossing film in India of all time. It is featured on many lists of best movies of 2022 in general, also out of India, and at the moment it is the most expensive Indian movie ever made. And let me tell you, the hype is real. This movie really is a spectacle. The movie, of course, is RRR, which stands for Rise, Revolt, and trust me, it's worth what you've heard about it. I always preface my videos about modern Indian movies by saying, forget the stereotypes, the Western stereotypes that are usually associated to Indian movies. Of course, every country has common traits which you can find across the board of their films, but modern Indian movies are not just over-the-top romantic stories interrupted by absurd, low-quality CGI action fights and endless dance pieces. On the contrary, I'm sure that if films like Andhadhun or Lunchbox had been made by Hollywood, they would have received a lot more attention. But let's get back to today's topic, RRR. What is it all about? The story is set in the early 1900s when India was under the control of Great Britain. And to give you a general idea of the mood of the story, director S.S. Rajamouli has said that Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds was one of his greatest inspirations. And just as in Inglourious Basterds, a group of oppressed individuals come together to try take down the Nazi regime, in RRR there is a fight against the oppression of the British government. Two men are the centre of the story. One of them is a highly skilled police officer portrayed by Charan, who we meet while he is working for the Brits. On the other hand, we have a leader of the Gonda tribe portrayed by Junior NTR. These two men's lives intertwine when a young girl from the Gonda tribe is abducted by the British and kept in captivity in their palace in Delhi. So the tribe's guardian sets off on a mission to retrieve her, basically with the intent that he will stop at nothing until he brings her home. Because of this threat, the other guy, the policeman, is sent on a mission to stop this guy, again with whatever it takes. So what simply starts as a policeman trying to stop a guy from digging around too much in Delhi reaches the point of an epic scale adventure involving everything from exploding trains, wild bears and tigers, deep reflections about one's own morals and what you're willing to do to keep your job or save your family, and even intense dance-offs. The two protagonists are actually based on real Indian revolutionaries, Komaram Bhim and Alluri Sitarama Raju, who were both deeply involved in the fight against the control of the British government. And in the film, they are nearly like superheroic figures, whether it may be what they are willing to do to reach their goals, what they are physically capable of doing, and how deep they can go with their emotions. For some aspects, this movie is more of a superhero story than other titles being released at the moment. So everything about these guys is enhanced, whether it is an epic shot of an action sequence or even just them getting by in their regular daily activities. While the other characters are just bland figures in the background, these guys are slow-mo walking in front of tires on fire. They don't go for a ride. They race along this beautiful scenery trying to make a horse run as fast as a motorcycle. They don't punch something. It has to be an epic, high-definition, slow-mo, sweaty fist colliding in a wall. The cinematography definitely didn't hold back with this film. There were actually a few scenes for which I actually had to pause this movie and go back and rewatch them because they were so good. It's such a pity I wasn't able to see it on the big screen. One of the best moments is the introduction to Bhim in the forest, with the camera spinning upside down and dark blood pouring down his face. He couldn't be introduced as a regular character. And while some scenes do get a little cheesy just because at one point every single thing these guys are doing is in slow motion, but I really think that sets them apart from the other characters, and it definitely sets the mood for the film. And while some people have been making fun of this over-the-top depiction of the characters, remember Bruce Wayne's workout in Justice League, or something like the napkin in the bin scene from Parasite, or the ending of Saw. Sometimes the over-dramatization of the scene is what makes it so epic. Of course, we all know that some of the feats these guys carry out would be physically impossible, but that's what makes them so heroic. And just as Dwayne Johnson obviously couldn't stop a helicopter with his bare hands in Fast and Furious. Another scene I loved and I had to rewind and rewatch is a little further in the film, so I won't spoil it too much, but let's just say it involves a group of animals jumping, and it is absolutely epic. This film literally has scenes set up in a way which I don't think I've ever seen in any other movie, and that is pretty rare considering how oversaturated and repetitive the film industry is becoming lately. All this epicness by Rajamouli and cinematographer Senthil Kumar really makes me want to watch more of their collaborations, in particular the two Bahubali movies, which I put off watching because some of you said I would struggle to enjoy them as I might not be too familiar with the cultural settings of the films. Now, it is true that in the past, compared to films like Tumbad, I enjoyed more Indian films with, let's say, more blockbuster universal themes like Super Deluxe, PK, Dangal, Tara Zameen Par and Dadun, but I also greatly enjoyed movies like Three Idiots, which within the comedy genre still covered topics about young Indian adults that I wasn't too familiar with. So I think that I should move on and try these films. After all, even RRR covers themes and the lives of people I didn't even know about until just a few days ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And by the way, if you have more suggestions for Indian movies, let me know in the comments below. I still have a few left on my watch list which you guys have suggested, such as Lagan and Gangs of Wasseypur. By hearing all this about RRR, you might think, it's a little too much. I mean, you've got the action and the drama and the romance and the musical pieces. What more do you want to put in it? But I think the different themes were very well spread out and one led into the other, to the point that even the musical sequences didn't break up the story, but rather they enhanced it and were great in creating character chemistry, because character chemistry is everything in this movie. The whole story is based on the relationship between these two guys, which goes on a roller coaster of strangers to best buddies to sworn enemies to everything in between. And they really make it seem credible. You genuinely believe that there is a relationship being built and then broken and then rebuilt between these two characters, all on the background of a social political situation which is much larger than the both of them. I was also very surprised by the CGI, which can be a hit or miss with such big movies, and it is what makes them last in time. Think about how we rewatch and appreciate The Lord of the Rings even 20 years later, and then there's Cats. RRR did have a couple of flaws in some of the big action sequences, but considering the scale of what was involved in these scenes, I don't think it's too distracting. I would be more concerned with humongous studios like Marvel coming up with something like this, when in the past they stated that for some of their series they had budgets of $25 million per episode. If I had to point out some flaws in RRR, I would go for the acting within the British department of the film, especially Lady Scott. I know she had to be more like a really cold, menacing ruler, but it did come off as very stiff, and apparently I'm not the only one who noticed this. But all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed RRR and I would definitely suggest watching it. And also, I would love to hear what you guys think about the topic. So make sure to leave a comment down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.